Today, we got a young man, as you well know, out of the Houston, Texas area. Oh, yeah. He's a community leader. He's a man of faith. His favorite book is Bible, which stands for Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. Some of y'all catch that later. And with that further said, out of Houston, Texas, the one and only, the incomparable Mr. Dwight Williams.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody doing this morning? Is everybody blessed this morning? Because I am blessed beyond measure. And I am glad to be here. It is my plum pleasing pleasure, as Les Brown says, to be here this morning. And I am excited about it. Mr. Thomas. How are you doing this morning, Mr. Thomas? I know you're
fantastic, sir. Thank you for asking.
I know Mr. Thomas is doing fantastic. I know he's blessed because when you're free, man, that alone tells you freedom alone. So, Mr. Thomas, again, man, I'm gonna tell you, I appreciate it. I got to come down there to Las Vegas to hang with you for a couple weekends to just sit and glean knowledge and bring my notepad and just rob you of all the information that I can get before for my next phase. So I am glad to be here this morning, and I'm excited. You guys have incredible number of leaders, Mr. Lewis, Ms. Driscoll, Miss Ismail, and all of the leaders, of course, Mr. Thomas, and you've had leaders coming from all over, Wolfpack and Mr. Shaquille Cooper and Mr. Aaron Burton, and just incredible leaderships. I would ask you a question: has that made an impact on your business? I know it's probably inspired you and motivated you, but has it impacted your business? And I'm asking those questions. I'm always thinking about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I'm always measuring because I understand you don't achieve what you don't measure. And so I'm always writing down did I get something out of this? Because you have to. You have to always be thinking, I'm attending this, I'm doing this. Is it, there are always course corrections. Is this thing, because what happens? I mean, think about this, because we'll find ourselves doing something just because it's a rhythm, right? And we'll be in a rhythm, and because we're in that rhythm, we're just doing it as a routine and not even considering, am I getting results from this thing? And so, many times I've been stuck, and something comes along. Hopefully, I disrupt myself. That's why one of my favorite words is disrupt, because I think disruption is important. How many of you guys have? I'm going to talk about something. I'm probably going to date myself. How many of you have heard of Kool-Aid? Anybody ever had Kool-Aid? Anybody familiar? What? Now, I'm not. How many of you love Kool-Aid? You probably the worst thing for you. But anybody ever had Kool-Aid and it settles overnight and the half the pitcher is sugar? That's the best. Put a little lemonade in it, lemon powder in it. Oh, that's the best. And we don't call it in flavors. We call it in colors. It's not strawberry, cherry, it's red. It's not grape, it's purple. let's get it right. So, but for you to get the full flavor of it, you every time you pull it out and you want to use it after it sit out and settle, all the sugar settles to the bottom. You have to stir it up. That stirring it up is the disruption. Today, I'm going to talk to you because we just had, over the past weekend, we had a major event. And I want to talk about the results that we got from that event as we prepare going forward as we prepare over the next several months for our next event. I want to ask some questions. Why is always up, but yeah, if you got kids will why you to death. Well, why is going to be our subject today. Why? And the first why that we got is uh, why am I doing what I'm doing? Now, I'm going to ask you a question. If you're not doing what you want to do, the question that you should always ask is, why am I not in the place that I want to be? Now, watch this. And I'm going to dig in specifically on this why. I worked for 7 years for other people before I began to work for myself. And it was an interesting, and I learned a lot. And I took the lessons from those 7 years forward into business, whichever ones I was, along with the resources that I had built up over that time as capital into that business. And I always look back. I remember the last conversation I had with the individual that I worked for. And he said to me, and he and I were talking, and I was requesting an increase, a significant, he believed was a significant increase, but I made a lot of money for the company and I knew it. And so the number that I was asking for was still really a fraction of what I was earning. And he told me that he couldn't pay me that. And you most people would say even to this day that I was highly paid. And I was, even at that time, I was probably paid a lot of money for a 20-something years old kid. But it had nothing to do with what what most people thought was normal. It was what I was worth. And he said to me, he says, I can't pay you that because I have other people to pay. I had managers to pay. And I remember looking at him and saying to him, why are we having that conversation? I don't care what you're paying anybody else. I'm talking to you about me, and you're talking to me about other people. I don't. And but the truth be told, I was an employee. I was working for him, and his plans were not for me. I was just simply a tool for him to achieve his goal. And I had to come to that realization. And so some of us would get angry, we get upset, we get mad, and we start arguing and screaming. But the truth be told, he was right. That was the right he had. He had the right to decide what to do with and so I was an employee in his company. I remember looking at him, and he says to me, now this is the crazy part, because I knew what he was making. I was like, why are you making almost 4 times what I'm making? And he says, you pay me to ensure that you get paid. And I thought to myself, I pay you to ensure that so you make sure I get paid. And I told, well, I won't be needing that anymore. So, and I made a conscious decision in that moment. I understood what he was saying, and I agreed with it. That was his right. But I also had a right in that equation. And the right that I had was to do something different. And the thing I did different was I made a decision to become my own business owner. And now when we say I became a business owner, I just took ownership of my life. That's all I did. And I believe that I could bring value to the marketplace in such a way that people would pay me, myself, based on the value that I provided. And so all I did becoming a business owner was take ownership of me and say, I'm going to provide value to the marketplace, and I'm going to have people pay me for that value. I'm not going to participate in the value that he brings to the marketplace. Instead, I'm going to directly bring value to the marketplace and be paid for myself. And in that exchange, in the economy of the US American economy, I switched from being an employee to being a business owner. And those are 2 roles. Those are 2 decisions. I think often we make the decision, definitely when I'm talking to individuals about the opportunity, that are attracted, that say, hey man, what do you do? How are you able to sit at this coffee shop all day and just talk to people? How are you able to do that? Because I have leverage that creates freedom for me. and the leverage that I have is through business ownership. And so do you do what the guy that was doing that you were working for does? And when I started, I did. I was somewhat of a competitor, not quite. I became a business owner because I wanted to take control of the transaction. And I want you to pay close attention to the statement I'm about to make. I took ownership of the transaction for my time. Does that make sense? Instead of giving ownership of the transaction for my time to someone else, I owned it. Now, what was the risk? That I may not be able to fill my time. Somebody else. There may be time that I may not be able to feel that he could have, but that was a risk I was willing to take. In taking that risk, the gap of funds, now this is the interesting thing to know, the gap that he was not paying me, I filled within a matter of months. Because of why? I believed in myself. I believed in myself enough to take the risk necessary to purchase the freedom that I desired. Now, let's talk about that. My favorite subject is faith. Faith is the material of your dreams. It is not the money. It is not the job. It's not the people. It's not any of those things. Now, you've got to hear what I'm telling you and understand that this is a true statement. None of the things that I believed was the key to my success were. The key to my success was what I believed about me. And in believing that is the thing that created the opportunities that I created. Now, once I went from being an employee to a business owner, I realized the benefits of being a business owner. And I'm gonna talk briefly about the opportunity. Why? So then I began to understand business. I started learning business. And I started to ask myself, what is the most valuable function in a business? Is it manufacturing? Is the guy that creates the product? Is it the accountant? I've had many accountants and many attorneys work for me. Many of them work for me. I was in the software business. Was I writing software and building? I was not. I was the marketing and sales guy. I was the most valuable person in my company. Why? Because I had teams of people who did everything else. They built products, they built booths, and they packaged software. They sent it out, they mailed it out. I had guys that were accounting for it. I had attorneys that were doing. I had people managing travel. I had all of those people. But without that guy that knew how to create attraction to that product, create interest in that product, and convince someone that that product was unique enough to purchase it, the rest of the pieces of the puzzle were worthless. Not saying they were worthless in the overall scheme, but without the sales and marketing function, there's no income. Marketing and sales is the greatest skill set you can ever develop. That's why when you combine business with marketing, it is the most exciting thing for me to do. The opportunity, and so now I'm going to dig into why network marketing. And here's a question that you should ask yourself. And this is just us talking. When you're talking to individuals, just ask yourself simple questions. I asked myself a long time ago. I said, do I want to work for somebody? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I really did not. And I've talked to many people, and the average person doesn't even like the sound of that. But here's the one most of us lean to. Do I want people working for me? Now, if I'm a new business owner, I would say yes, but I haven't worked for anybody over 30 years. Today, I don't even want employees. I don't want to work for anybody, and I don't even want anybody working for me. I don't want either of those two scenarios. Why? Now I'm responsible for payroll, and I'm responsible for payroll taxes, and I'm responsible for the legal, the HR. I'm responsible for all of these things. The overhead associated with a payroll is incredible. So now I create this burden on me, this added responsibility. And the truth be told, I don't want that. So I don't want to work for anybody, but I also don't want the burden of people working for me. So what do I want? I want people that work together. I'm gonna tell you, I have been, and I've said this before, I have been an employee, I have been self-employed, I've owned small, mid-sized, and large businesses. And the only business that has really excited me is the network marketing industry. Why? Because people work together, reduced overhead. Once you're a business owner, you understand overhead is a really big deal. Think about it. I make $100 and I end up keeping 3%. The average business doesn't make 10% in profit. Think about that. Now, I want you to think about that. Think about this though. Think about that. I don't know if this is the same, and Mr. Thomas can tell me if it is true. But did you know that the average account in ACN nets $3 to the IBO? It's a guaranteed number down to your bottom line. You know how hard it is for the average small business owner to get a number like that down to their bottom line. They have overhead, they have expenses, they have employees, they have loss, they have all of these things that they have to deal with and manage. They've got to hire accountants, and they got to have CPAs, and they got to hire lawyers, they got to do all of this stuff. And at the end of the day, when the dust settles, whatever's left is that number. That's why the average business owner out here. So when I saw ACN as a business owner with a history of years of doing business, and somebody told me, oh, Dwight, every cell phone that you sell, you're going to make X amount of dollars every single time. It was the most attractive thing. So then the next thing I asked is, how about employees? No, you don't have employees. You have members of a team, and you work with people. Really? So you mean to tell me that the guy that I'm under, I can make more money than him? Yep, if you're willing to outwork him, you'll make more money than he does. Are you serious? So you're telling me, help me understand. I have my own business. You have your own business. I don't have any employees. You do not. And I'm not an employee. You are not. But I actually I have an unlimited earning potential. You absolutely do. In a business. Well, I've been an entrepreneur. How many times have I had an unlimited earning potential? Never. Let me eliminate that answer for you right then and there. So you have never had it unlimited. And I have made tons of revenue. But the more money you make in business, in most cases, definitely in service businesses, there's a direct relationship between the cost to produce that money than to the money itself. So the more money you make, the more cost there is associated with it. And so in the end, you find yourself with these numbers, 3%, 8%, and 5%. I'm telling you, it is statistically proven. The average small business does not make 10% in profit. That is a guaranteed number. So when I talk to individuals and I'm talking to them about this opportunity, most of them say, no, you know what? When I quit this job, I'm gonna start me a business. Most people who say that don't really understand. And so they're about to go through another generation of learning that's gonna take, so my job is to bridge that gap and to help them understand, hey, from where you are, the fastest path to your dream is a company like ACN. Now, why ACN? How many of you negotiated a mobile contract? Nobody. See, in my business, every service that I provided, I had to have a contract with the company I was providing that service to. How many of you have had to negotiate an energy contract? Nobody? Check this out. Here's a killer. How many of you know of an energy company that's in all 50 states or in more than 40 states? A single energy company. How many of you know of an energy company that's not only in 50 states, but it's on 4 continents? How many of you know of a company like that? A single energy? NRG? Nope. Centerpoint, Edison, none of them. None of them. So you have the ability to move an energy company in more than 40 states in more than 4 countries. That's crazy. That's incredible. And you can make money on every single one of those. So you got to think about me as a business owner, having all of this available to me without having to go do all of the work myself. See, all of this infrastructure as an independent business owner, you would have had to build yourself. So me as a marketing and sales guy who gets a guaranteed amount of money with no limit on how much I can make, has somebody working in an office somewhere that I don't even know about, who's constantly negotiating contracts, getting me these deals, creating a platform for me to make money. So for me, this was a no-brainer. ACN was a complete no-brainer for me. I mean, when I sit down with individuals, and it's everybody from a kid working in a grocery store to a business owner running a multi-million-dollar firm. He cannot dispute this. He cannot, there's nothing he's going to be able to tell me that he can say that counters this. He can't match this opportunity. He can't. Now, one last point I want to make, because I'm running out of time. I want you to look around the world that you live in. ACN touches everything you do: electricity, cell phone, identity protection, even in business, credit card processing, cable television. They have created an opportunity for us to go into a person's home and create. I want to say something to you. Watch this. If you talk to the average entrepreneur that has done any development, how many revenue streams will they tell you you need to have? There's a magic number. There's a number I hear all the time. Anybody know that number? 7, am I right? They say you should have a minimum of 7 income streams, right? Okay, watch this. You have an income stream in ACN for electricity. You have an income stream in ACN for mobile phones. You have an income stream in ACN for identity protection. You have an income stream in ACN for home security. You have an income stream in ACN for bonuses, residual income, and last for business, you have an income stream for credit card processing, at least 7. There are actually more. Done right, building this business correctly, one company can provide you with at least 7 income streams in this one business. So when I talk to people who want to argue or compare, I don't spend a lot of time debating with individuals about this opportunity. I don't spend a lot of time talking to them about this opportunity. Why? Because it is a complete no-brainer. I'm telling you, ACN as an opportunity is a complete no-brainer. There is nothing about you working, and no negative on you working as an employee. But if you want to fulfill your dream, we dream in our sleep, remember? We have vision when we're awake. So it's not a problem to dream. Dreams are important, but vision is what keeps us awake. And so when you're awake, you see vision for how to fulfill that dream. And I haven't found anybody yet that was working a job that was able to connect their job to their dream. Not yet, not one. I haven't talked to not one. Definitely not fulfilling. None of them saw that the vehicle for fulfilling their vision was the job they were on. Now, it can be a way to get there. I'm not knocking that, but it wasn't the place that was going to get them there. But most of us have a disconnect there. Most of the people I talked to, they never connected the two. They never took the time to say, is what I'm doing going to get me where I want to go? If I keep driving a car, I'm not going to get to Paris if I'm in the US, right? I got to change vehicles. But most of us never think about, I really want to be in Paris. But all I got right now is a car. I got to switch vehicles. And we often don't take the time to think. I'm telling you, I've told countless people, skip business ownership or a traditional independent business. You want to skip that. The world has moved on from traditional business ownership. How do I know? Airbnb, perfect example. Uber, Lyft. Nobody's building it anymore. Nobody's creating franchises of cars anymore. People are moving fast. Starbucks, 4,000 locations. Luckin Coffee in Japan, 5,000 locations in 2 years, in less than 2 years. 20,000 locations as its goal. You see the difference? Everything is accelerated because of the change. Technology is changing the world. Well, ACN is on the cusp of that. A digital platform, just like Uber and Airbnb, allowing individuals, just like Airbnb and Uber, to do things that before you'd have to go into a store to get cell phone service. You'd have to meet with somebody at Starbucks to sign up your identity protection. Person would have to come to your house, or you'd have to pull teeth to get your electricity changed. Think about how the world has changed drastically. Now I can switch my cable provider and a guy shows up. I can put home security in my home and contract that online. And then a few days later, a scheduled guy shows up in a van. He comes into my house. He installs all the stuff, puts it all in my house, and now my house is protected. And all of my work was done in my pajamas in my bed. This is the world we live in, guys. Hey, here's the only challenge I have for you is this. And this is what I told somebody. I can't live in the future and in my dad's world at the same time. I've got to leave the world that my dad was in if I'm going to go to the future. You got to have the courage, man, to make this transition. And you can't fly holding on to a weight. You're going to have to let one go, and that takes courage. I'm telling you guys. And this is my last challenge. We just had this event. And belief to me is, I tell people, faith is expressed in what we do. Our actions tell me, when I talk to people, what they do tells me what they believe, not what they say. So we just had this event. Simple things. How many of you doubled yourself at this event? Meaning you put one person on the call. How many of you quadrupled yourself? How many of you put 4 people on the call? And so, because the key to this business is not you convincing anybody, not selling anybody, not installing a service, not recruiting, and that is not the key to this business. It's not even edification or promoting events. Even though those are keys, the primary key to this event is just getting a person in front of the material. That's it. It's as simple as that. If you don't get anybody to see the opportunity, that's the basic building. The rest happens on its own. Tony Cooper does that for you. Devon does that for you. They do all the other pieces for you. Mr. Thomas does that for you. Your job is you have a simple job. Just get people in front of them. That's it. And with that, Mr. Thomas, I'm going to turn it back over to you.